Moving on to our final topic, though. Camel Lady, our vice president, just can't stop lying to your face. It's almost like she loves it. Brian, to kick us off. Okay, so I don't know. Did you guys have a good time enjoying March Madness as it wrapped here just this past week? It was a fun week. Women's and males basketball had a lot of attention. Doug, what do you think?
I had NC State winning it all, and they made it pretty darn close and made me proud.
Wow. That's
fair.
a pretty hot.
That was a pretty good pick, right?
That's a real good pick.
People didn't have them going far, man. They made it a lot further than anyone thought. So
that's always your
Cinderella story.
He's picking it every
no,
year.
UNC is usually my team, but NC State beat UNC and Duke to win the ACC. So I was like, you know what? They're my team this year.
I think no team below rank of like 8 or 9 has been in the semifinals.
Yeah,
really.
So they made it pretty darn close, man.
Yeah, so they beat
in the
that
Final
record.
Four.
Right.
No, there was Syracuse was I think 12, and they
definitely none have been in the finals.
Not in the finals.
Finals.
Yeah,
They would have made history. I think.
Well, Villanova was I think 11 when they won it. It's either 8, it might have been 8 or 11. You might have to look that one up, Brian.
See, I'm not a basketball
I think
guy,
it was Villanova in
either,
2016.
I thought the Ronald McDonald House was going to make it far, and they didn't get anywhere. But the reason I bring it up is because there was a lot of hot, news around it. You had that Clark girl, Caitlin Clark. She, had a lot of attention. She was balling out. A lot of conspiracy theories about an Am's apple. I just think she's a victim of a new culture. I think just there's some girls that are going to be just hit with this is what you get. This is what you get when you live in this world. Some real ladies are going to be casualties of a social dynamic. That you should see the amount of people circling. Like, the internet is cruel, and I know personally. You should see the things they say. Justly. But
all right,
Brian, if you could, I'm going to have you play a video for us. Yep. So before you get lost in that, starting with that first video. President. This is our vice president having some really, Camel Lady. If you didn't know which one I was talking about, because we're going to clip this for the people that don't understand why I refuse to say her name. My last name is spelled Grgat. No vowels. They say I need to go on Wheel of Fortune and buy a vowel. The takeaway is I'm not a victim. It doesn't make me special. I have a foreign name, and I'm able to traverse this world with any type of name, and this whole victim mentality is so disgusting. So when she comes out and goes, nobody knows how to say my name right, and I'm sitting here at a severe deficit of vowels, I go, pick a different battle. I have not an inkling of empathy for your struggle. So I refuse to even say your name. You got a jacked up name just like me. So Camel Lady had some real choice words as she wanted to boost morale and get people excited as we wrapped the female brackets, and both male and female, but the March Madness. So Brian, if you could play video 1.
Do you know? Okay, a bit of a history lesson.
History lesson.
She's going to give us some history here.
Oh.
Do you know that the women's teams were not allowed to have brackets until 2022? Think about that.
Huh.
That's
news.
About progress, better late than never, but progress.
Better late
but
than
you know what? Just how we love March Madness, and even just now allowing the women to have brackets, and what that does to encourage people to talk more about the women's teams, to watch them. Now they're being covered. And this is the reality.
That's the real women's suffrage you should have been voting for all along. For them to be on a bracket.
You won't be. But when you see it, you realize,
oh.
That's true equality, though.
But I don't know if
bracket, we've made it, guys.
Wait, I don't know if the user was able to see how it was about 100 years ago that the first one was made, and they literally showed presidential choice brackets, Barack Obama being some of them, in 2013, 2014.
Well, you know who else put in a bracket a couple years ago, actually prior to 2022.
Not a female one. This is history.
No, this was a female one. Kamala Harris's husband.
Oh my gosh.
Put out his own women's bracket, and I think it was
What year was that?
I think it was 2020.
Oh my gosh.
Well, obviously, right before everything happened, but he had one men's and women's bracket, and I think we could probably look down the rabbit hole far enough where Kamala Harris herself probably filled out a women's bracket and threw it out there. She's a real pioneer, that Kamala.
Well, here's what I love. She has such a trend of just bold-faced lies.
Just the confidence. Let me tell you a history lesson. Women weren't allowed to have brackets until 2022. It's like, oh,
How about
weird?
How about the notorious? Everybody knows how Tulsi Gabbard sunk her ship on her presidential election, which was her championing standing against marijuana laws, or being willing to, release the marijuana laws as she goes. And Tulsi's like, yeah, but you tore apart homes over something you laughed about and didn't obey a law yourself.
Nope.
So, but do you want to say something before we push forward?
I don't remember what I was going to say.
So moving on to, if you could go to video 2, this video is now just a series of lies that were compiled simply
I remember
from 2023.
Joe Biden frax. She said that too. Remember?
Well, that was a combination of the two of them. Here, hold on.
Oh.
I have it right here.
SNL got it
he's
right,
pulling
man.
out a prop.
This is like OG Rethink Tank. These are when the election came out, we had our Joe Biden frax t-shirts. One, it's just funny. Joe Biden frax.
Pretty good.
Like Joe Biden frax. And first, I just want to point out to people, none of you realize that these lines are like Chinese imagery. Like the 3 lines, I made it on Joe and Biden, but it was this. Like the 3 lines is Chinese imagery. So just know where their loyalties lie.
Well, you know what else it is? The stars and bars. The original, the Confederate flag. So you're thinking like like on Daisy
Well,
Duke.
don't you love hearing another valiant story where the Chinese communists lose? Another victory for America. Don't bring up a dead flag that doesn't matter. So, back to the Joe Biden frax. What made this sweet and special was not only did Camel Lady lie about it, but Joe Biden was so brain dead, he literally didn't know his position on fracking. He forgot it every time. I made a Joe Biden frax t-shirt simply because, again, back to my point about Morgan Wallen throwing stools and dummies that don't want to do homework and just follow their favorite guitar strummer for political guidance. I want to tell you, nobody was able to pick up on the true irony of this shirt because nobody is really doing the political homework. I had Democrats and Republicans all buying this shirt. That was the sweet part about it. Because what made the punchline of the shirt was the fact that this dude literally lied every time. He'd be talking to the constituents in Pennsylvania, his hometown that he supports and loves. He goes, I would never get rid of fracking. And then literally the next day, go to Chicago and be like, get rid of those frackers. And everybody's like, do you know what you believe? And he's like, no, they got me trapped in a basement. I don't have to debate anybody. I don't have to know what I believe. So bringing it all full circle. One, you brought up the Joe Biden frax thing. That wasn't just a Camel Lady lie. That was the whole administration was confused and they didn't have to figure it out because he was going to win no matter what. So video 2 here is all of just 2023. These are just bold-faced lies broadcasted by Camel Lady in 2023.
You're touting Bidenomics. They're calling it Bidenflation. Mm-hmm. What is your take on with prices going up?
Right. Well, first of all, I think it's important to pay attention to the fact that that prices need to come down in a number of areas, but we have been lowering the cost of living for so many people. But it's a real issue, and I take it seriously.
If penalties are levied on the automakers, then this will take money away from the auto workers. Is the president aware that he's literally taking money?
He is aware of nothing.
UAW workers by impugning their bonuses?
I just don't think that's the right.
Well, you might have been on vacation at the time.
It assumes that the auto workers will fail to comply with the law. The automakers will fail to comply with the law.
The FAA still uses drones made by Chinese companies, allowing them to inspect the FAA's national.
I love 3-letter agencies.
And so my question is very direct. Can you commit to reviewing this matter and ensuring that federal taxpayer dollars are not used to fund the operation of these Chinese drones?
We have my commitment that we will put American security first and ensure that there are no vulnerabilities that go unaddressed.
So, David, let me flip it to you before
Okay.
I spring load right into this bad boy.
Okay, all right. About Pete Buttigieg, or just in
these
general?
lies.
These lies.
That Pete
So
Buttigieg,
let's.
though.
Pete Buttigieg, a whole series of camel lady lying. That damn Pete Buttigieg.
Pete Buttigieg.
Let me be fair to our Vice President Kamala Harris.
Camel lady.
So in the original video, so it was I don't want to say it was taken out of context because boy, she really went whole hog into this whole women weren't allowed on brackets thing. But the initial comment was technically about the women's basketball wasn't allowed to use the name March Madness on their bracket or something like something real silly like that. And she just took it. And I get that. So I'm going to be on a soapbox here for about two minutes here. Give me about 2.
I'll throw you extra soap. Be there as long as you want.
So we're seeing the height of women's sports right now. Wouldn't you say I think it's fair that
Heck yeah.
that this Final Four was probably the greatest women's Final Four?
It's at its height, and there's still nobody watching. Hi.
Well, if you see the final actually beat the men's final. The women's
Dude, okay.
No,
Nobody's
no.
watching that either.
No.
Did it beat a regular season no-nothing Cavs game? Neither of them
But
did.
men's was also competing with an Eclipse and the Indians home opener. I mean,
Doug
I
just
don't.
might dropped your tampon ace.
Well, the eclipse was at least 6 hours before.
yeah, but people are probably going out doing something for the Eclipse. They're not going to go home and waste their valuable Eclipse day off and watch the women's championship.
So, Doug, were you outside trying to watch the eclipse after 9 o'clock when the?
No, but I was
when it
still
aired?
going hard and enjoying my day.
Yeah, were you enjoying it outside? Were you one? Are you saying
I want
everyone?
Doug at 9 p.m. just looking at the moon.
He's
with
all right.
his glasses on, just like
It's gonna come back. We'll
I
see
still-
her
yeah,
here.
come back. I used the glasses this morning just to make sure the sun was still up there.
Well, I think you were surprised. With
okay.
that.
Did you watch either of those games?
I did watch both of those games. Actually, I was out
Brian?
downtown.
Which
Any of them?
Yeah.
Okay. Which both?
I saw the I don't even know what team I was watching. I was just watching.
Okay.
Yo, hold on.
Well,
Hold on.
Cleveland. I
Just
saw
to
that
double
it said
down on your
Cleveland.
point, Kabas, because we get this wrong every time. Kabas says that the women's has 18.7 million viewers, obviously more than regular season Cavs game. Come on now. He is correct.
Yep.
They are correct.
That stadium was packed.
That was packed. That was a sold out arena. Now, in
I
fairness,
would hope a championship that had Caitlin Clark's momentum going in. I mean, she was huge the last 2 weeks.
She's a national icon.
I
of
would
women's
hope
athletics.
that beats a regular season game. Still, very cool. I'm going to let you finish your point because I think it's a great point, and that is you are seeing. We got distracted on a joke. The truth is, yes, there is an upward trend, and it's currently happening, and this is clearly the biggest viewership we've ever had.
Yeah. So instead of taking the narratives like, oh wow, it's really cool that there's enough promotion, there's enough personalities to make women's athletics interesting in now versus, I don't know, like 10 years ago, there just wasn't the same. There just wasn't the same personality. It wasn't the same star power. It's a better product now than it was back then. Instead of just going, hey, wow, this is cool. Now we got to make it like super political. We have to go out. We got to go out and beyond. We have articles like, well, what make women's basketball black again? If you saw that, that was about 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
Yep. Yeah. That's a
and
whole.
that's going to chip away to the 18.7
Yeah,
million, my friend.
That's a whole thing. But we're just starting to see like, wow, it's just like this. Well, because we got rid of misogyny, now women's sports. Like, no, we finally have someone. We finally have enough teams that are good, some storylines.
Wait, hold on. What made it also? Can we agree? What any sport, what makes it worth watching to strangers that tune in and give their time? Like we were talking about the importance of time and everything.
Yeah.
What makes that person tune in? What are you watching for?
Super athlete.
Boom. Competition.
Yeah.
Right? So what makes this more intriguing than just anything is because this isn't an amateur. This is a superior level. And we are finding out the highest caliber by forcing all of the high caliber athletes to compete against each other. So you're watching this competition of the highest caliber athletes. All right, I'm going to say it. Hold on. I got to do it.
Uh-oh. Where's he going? Uh-oh.
This gives me the ability to say it, so I'm going to say it.
Forgot the cup.
Right. Sipping from my Toronto Gay Cup. Can we also agree that this is going... Caitlin Clark, what made her amazing, what had all of the excitement stirring around this past few weeks, is completely thrown out the door the second a amateur man can jump in that game. Like, let's agree, what has heightened it right now is that they are all the same playing field. This is all the same level of competition, the same type of deck we were all dealt, and you're seeing the highest caliber at their level. Don't mean to pick a scab, but I'm sorry, it's never going to heal right unless we do. And the truth is, I don't want to watch that championship game if there's some 20-year-old dude out there, period. There is still the sanctity of needing to preserve fair and even competition if it's ever going to be worth watching at a level of, as Kabaskis throws in my face, 18.7 million. To me, you didn't watch that girl that I can't remember her name now. You didn't watch her swim because they were all losing to a dude no matter what. Like, those types of competitions are not going to bring in 18.7 million people. Yeah. So there's something to preserving the sanctity of true and real high caliber competition.
No, I don't disagree with that. And I think we can even go on the opposite end of that. Is the NBA more watchable if we just have some like 20-year-old chick, just blonde chick, just running out there? That's not exciting. But yeah, this is the point where I think we're seeing the crux of like women's sports, where I think next year and the year after, okay.
That's why we want to champion it and preserve it.
Exactly. No, I don't disagree. Even the trans thing aside, it's still
I never said that. I was just talking about dudes playing games.
Yeah. It's nice. It is nice to see finally we're getting like storylines and people are catching up to, because I think this is several years in the making. Like, we probably could have had the same excitement 4 or 5 years ago, but now I think there's enough notoriety, enough star power to where we're going, okay, well, this is worth kind of watching and carrying it on over next year. Now we'll see. Here's the big thing. Will this increase the WNBA viewership?
We showed that it didn't. That's what I'm saying.
Don't think so.
We literally gave up like evil villain. We gave up evil Bond villain, Russian missile sellers for a girl that literally enhanced the women's NBA zero.
The
when she got
Merchant
back.
of Death.
Yeah, please take the Merchant of Death. We want our ball dribbler back. She comes back. Nobody watches.
I was hoping I'd run into her this weekend. I went downtown Friday night for the Final Four, just with this like 1% hope that I would there she is. Wow, this is pretty. This is probably the most famous WNBA player. Done more to elevate the sport than people actually on the court. But that's to be that's a whole.
How dumb are you to
here.
go to Russia and then also get arrested in Russia? The smart move is to not go to Russia at all.
Well, it was like an international. I don't know. It's like an international. It's
she
more
was
of the
there
thing that was
to
the issue.
coach. Like, she was brought in by the state. My thing is, let's just say they do bamboozle you into like a fun foreign exchange program to like, I'm going to get an experience and be otherworldly and go to Russia for a few months. My suggestion then would be, if you were to, I don't know, bamboozle yourself into making such a decision, maybe abide by all their laws, because you will not see true justice. They don't have a constitution. Welcome to reality. And so you walk in with a weed pen thinking, what? You're going to have the right to an attorney? Reality check. So I do want to bring us back.
All right.
So we're talking about Camel Lady Lion. Hold on. What do we got here with Caitlin Clark? Let's give Kabaskis.
What do we got here?
The first WNBA game see huge viewerships, but the rest, or then it was a big drop off.
Yeah. Probably true. Probably true.
Yeah.
And
that's
here's
what it
the
was.
sad
They
part.
did say her first game back was highly watched, and then nothing after.
Here's the sad reality. They did a great job, a really great job through Sports Center, Sports Illustrated, a lot of the major sports broadcasting networks and Center Points for Sports, to make Caitlin Clark, and like, I don't watch women's basketball. They made her a huge piece in my vernacular. I know who she is. I could pick her out in a lineup.
Yeah.
Like I'm aware of who she is. They did a great job of bolstering her brand, her name, and she will now go into this league. I can't imagine she's going to rake in the coals of cash. Like, I just really don't. I think she will be comfortable. But the sad part is, and that's the reality kind of to Kabaskas' final point here, and it's that, yes, there will be a boom, but the boom is still not sustainable. That audience isn't there peddling every Saturday like the UFC. The UFC will do what's the word I'm looking for? Not demo. I'm thinking of a word.
Exhibition.
Ooh. They're doing exhibition matches on Saturdays with nobodies, and they're getting just as much of the audience draw as their big pay-per-view. They've created an appetite for the sport, regardless of who's playing it. I don't think that exists yet in women's sports, let alone women's WNBA. For everybody that gets, standoffish and upset when you make that point, it's like, you can't make me watch it because I don't have the time. I'm going to only watch so much stuff.
Well, give me a reason to care.
You're not watching it. Like, the reason my point has weight is because not enough women are watching it. So I only say all of that because you have somebody like Caitlin Clark that's coming in with a bigger name than most people are walking in the WNBA. And I don't think she's going to see, third round draft pick NBA player money. I don't. And again, I'm speaking out of ignorance. Kabaskas, I'm hoping you come to the comments to correct me again. But I'm coming to a place where I don't believe that third round, fourth round is getting less than somebody even as big as her. And I don't take the position that that's crazy or unfair because I don't think the numbers are there yet. They will be, hopefully. And we're slowly snowballing to that point, which I think was a cool position you presented. But the also reality check is I don't think we're there still yet.
Yeah, you got to build these things naturally, and you have to grow it over time, as we're saying. Like, I think women's sports are going to become bigger. It's just, I think it's just going to be a reality of life. But to expect, for those who are like, well, the women's NBA player need to be paid the same as the men's. Like, well, ooh, buddy,
equity.
Let's slow down on that one. I mean, they can't. I mean, if the league wants to, go for it. It's not my money. I don't care. Name the closest WNBA team to here.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
Well, that's
couldn't tell you.
I
name a
might
couple
actually
NBA
care more if we had one here, but we don't. So, like, WNBA.
Do you really believe it?
Yeah,
maybe a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more.
Boom. Say what you're going to say.
Yeah, would you care more, or would you just know the name of the team?
You would know the name of the team.
I would probably care more. Like, oh wow, they're playing well.
You would care. I'll watch.
Because it'd be
Doug
Cleveland.
said it for me without even meaning to say it. He would be sparked in interest the moment they start doing well. Oh, they're in the top 5 of the league?
And they're Cleveland?
Now Cleveland has
Okay.
something to be proud of.
Yeah.
Now I'm proud. How about this? Raise your hand in this room. I will. Raise your hand in this room if you went to a Cleveland Gladiators football game. Boom.
I always wanted to.
Literally 50% of the room I played football with here in Cleveland. None of them went to the game. Cleveland Gladiators were going to the championship a couple of those years.
I could never get tickets.
So 4 guys that played football, the interest wasn't there.
Yeah.
Why? Come on. I hate to be. Truth is mean. Reality is harmful, painful, but it's real. Let me tell you why. The interest wasn't there. Why? Because it wasn't the highest caliber of competition. Like, I'm sorry. People sit here and believe like I take on this position, like I have some self-righteous position. I'm a man. Men are great. I will die on the hill. Go look up Anna Hall. This girl is a titan. She's getting ready for the Olympics. That girl will beat any one of us in literally anything. She's like a quintuplathon. She does like 10 different events in track. She's a superhuman. Breaks Doug. We call Doug Professor Glass because you could literally snap him over your leg. She would break Doug. Guess what? LeBron breaks her. So that's the reality check. I'm not saying my team's better. No, Anna Hall beats me in every sport. I'm just trying to bring a little bit of reality to the conversation of, but even the best one, period. still loses to the top 30% at least of these superhuman Titan men. And that's just a reality. And so when I go, why did nobody in this room watch the Cleveland Gladiators but never missed a millisecond of Browns football? The addiction and what draws us to watching competition is that it feels extraterrestrial. It is beyond human experience. This is the highest caliber of competition. That's what makes it worth watching. And insofar as long as Cat Williams, baby dog, can jump down there on your court and dunk on 50% of your bitches, well, guess what? It isn't the highest caliber of sports, and it isn't going to get all the eyeballs as the NBA. Anybody want to try refuting that one? Kabaskus? I'm calling it. Ricky? Who's got this? Yeah, crickets.
Well, I got to give it at least 2 seconds for the delay. But I don't know. I don't think there's going to be too many people who are going to refute that. It's like, well, I watch minor league ping or table pong just because I care more about it than NBA. We're not going to get that. That's not going to be the reality of it. But I think I'm going to go with my wrapping thought here on this whole thing. Instead of, so let's take her back to the woman that started it all, Kamala Harris. Instead of kind of uplifting and really celebrating women's sports in general and saying, hey, it's really cool. We get a women's Final Four that's as, if not more exciting than the men's Final Four because we have these stars, they've done a lot to bring the sport into, prosperity. We take it to a political thing. It's like, hey, well, women weren't allowed on a bracket in 2022 and just said it repeatedly with confidence, with that.
She just lied to your face.
That damn smile. That's what irritates me so much about it too. Is it's not a celebration. It's we got to bring you down. We got to bring you down. It's us. We're the problem. We're the reason Caitlin Clark wasn't famous. It was Kamala Harris came into office, and now that's why Caitlin Clark is as famous as she is. It's just a bunch of garbage. I bet you probably more men watch the women's Final Four and the championship than the women.
Why? Because it was an
exciting.
Extra tiered level of competition than what we're normally used to. This was this seemed like an extra heightened level of competition. I appreciate David as always keeping us grounded because he brings us back to the heart of the point that we were actually trying to wrestle here, and that's Camel Lady. I got distracted with my rainbow cup. Camel Lady is a liar. She lives for it. She loves it. She cackles in your face and she lies to you again. And so first wrapping thought is Kabaskus. Yes, there is a vowel in my name. There is an A. The purpose I still want to get through is you can't say it right even with the vowel. And I am not a victim because you can't say my name. I don't feel, equity. I don't feel held back because you can't say it right. I have a lady that calls me at work, has literally known me for 10 years. She's like, Mr. Gorgot, still didn't find an O, but she finds a way to stuff in two. I had GRGAT for our gold cards we were selling for our football team. The guy goes, oh, and the winner is Alexander Rat. Yeah, 2 G's, both silent. You nailed it. I'm not a victim. It's just life. But Kabaskus did say he's got an extra vowel, so I will take you up on that. But keeping us grounded as you did, David, the point I really want to make is how these politicians are representatives, how they truly operate at their core. And it's on both sides. It's really a reflection of the greater mechanism as a whole. And it's that if we lie often enough, loud enough, and just keep repeating it, it just becomes reality. Trump is a Russian troll or a Russian implant. Trump is a Russian implant. Trump is a Russian operative. If you just say it loud enough and often enough, no matter how much the FBI gets caught as totally fabricating the entire thing, people will still just keep parroting it. It's just still the reality of their existence. And that's just one example. Ted Cruz's wife, or he's the Zodiac killer. Yeah. Just say it enough times, it becomes fact.
Well, that is fact.
It is fact. I mean, but allegedly. But what I'm really getting at is it's a scarier reality that we live in. And it can be done at a stronger rate than ever before. Like before, you could only disseminate propaganda and your narrative only so often through so many mediums. The printing press had its limitations by by horseback. I mean, how far could train? Before all of this, it was even more limited. It make it easier to manipulate truth or information? Yes, because the sources of those truths and realities were so limited. So it was tough for people to check them or have alternative realities or truths. But that being said, it was also harder for them to get a true handle on it. How do you get every home in Rome to believe, Jewish people have wings? Well, I don't know. You're going to disseminate a stone tablet to every house? That ain't real. So, like, it was harder to officiate, but easier to narrow.
Yeah.
Now it's harder to narrow because you've got a million different avenues to get a million different perspectives. But also, one, what do we learn? Halliburton, all of these guys, they own, three people own everything. So deep down, it's probably it's a lot more narrow than we think.
Yeah.
But I was learning today how Ghislaine Maxwell was like the highest karma Reddit user ever in history.
Yeah.
So like there's avenues that they don't have total control of. So they need to implant some of their people to kind of guide.
The old astroturfing method.
Yeah.
That's what they call it. Yeah, astroturfing.
Enlighten me.
Oh, so you see, like grassroots campaign. So you bring it from the ground. Astroturfing. Well, I'm going to make my own grassroots kit by just.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I could. Okay.
Yeah,
that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It's fair. So I guess my wrapping thought is exactly that. We need to, one, be more comfortable in having these uncomfortable but very real dialogues. I love you guys getting in the comments, making this fun, keeping it engaging. But the truth is, this is how you defeat those types of things. They aren't always comfortable. I'm not always going to be right, but getting in the weeds and wrestling with them disarms them from totally controlling the narrative. How many people truly believe one thing, but don't say it for the sake of saving social face or trying to look good or trying to pander? And in all reality, if we all just were vulnerable, free marketplace of ideas, let all the ideas rustle themselves and the best will surface to the top.
Yeah.
If you're willing to get in on that, you're not always going to be right, but you'll always be on the pursuit of rightness. And that's you're never going to be perfect, right? Everybody knows what perfect is, 100%.
Yeah.
But you could always be 98% guided towards that. If you're always directed in the right direction, you'll be okay. So one, we need to be aware of what they're getting away with and can get away with. It's not just Camel Lady. It's across all party lines. They're able to just parrot things loud enough and often enough to make a false reality. So you need to be aware of those mechanisms, aware of those tactics. And the way to beating them is to be vulnerable and real. Be genuine. Don't tie yourself to just anything in ideas. Brian, do you have any wrapping thoughts as we wrap up the episode?
Yes. Give me 2 seconds. All right. So I do think that the Powerball was manipulated. Piggybacking off of your horse and carriage delivery system, I think that's when the Powerball really was rigged. it's only gotten better from there.
A couple sugar cubes and the lottery winner ends up in Oregon.
Yeah, going off of David's question from before, the lowest seed to ever win the March Madness was 8 Villanova, 1985, and 3 number 8 have reached the title game since 1985. No seed lower. Hold on, let's bring this over here. 18 teams were number 7 seed or lower to make the Final Four since 1985. And there was something else.
Lowest seed to reach the Final Four was number 11.
Yeah.
Yep. And that happened 6
NC
times.
State, baby.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's interesting.
Well, would you look at that?
But do you have any wrapping thoughts about Kamala Harris lying?
No.
Even though we wrapped it on me,
I
being
think you
correct,
guys-
so I'm okay with that.
I think you guys
That's fair.
wrapped it.
All right, give me this camera. I want to appreciate everybody in the comments. Ricky, Kabaskis, Don, the whole gang. I appreciate everybody coming here for the live. Oh, wait, hold on. Before I wrap this up, I do have one last video. I did tease this.
You did tease this earlier
And
today.
I
they haven't
almost
gotten to this
left
yet.
the segment without even addressing it. There is no persons talking about celebrities with opinions that they should just shove. There is no person's political opinion, celebrity's political opinion that annoys me more than Michael Rappaport. This pandering, I want to say
Some would say
something
a
so bad.
comedian.
Yeah, we'll say comedian. We'll go with that. He's bad at his job. I do not find him to be talented and good at what you just proclaimed. That aside, he is like the most outspoken against Trump, against Republicans, and like he does it in an ignorant, disgusting way. Like it's not coming from a backed position that like we could actually, there's substance to it that we could wrestle. It always ends up just being this flamboyant pandering. I want to look good on Twitter. I want to get a soundbite on TikTok that makes me look like I am not racist. That's his biggest thing. He's always pandering to black people. I don't mean that in a mean way. That's what he does. That's what makes him even faker. Like, I don't even want to take what you say with credence because you're totally fake, totally all the time. Brian, can you play this video of the growth of Michael
He's
Rappaport?
a con. He's a liar. He's a mutt. I like to punch him in the face. Voting for Trump is on the table. People are like, what are you talking about? That's my reality. I will not vote for Joe Biden. I do not support anybody from the squad. I think they're totally full of it. I think they're dangerous.
That's a bold take from
I think
him.
they're
Wow.
race hustlers. I think they're cons. I think inevitably they want to get themselves production deals to produce documentaries.
Dude, it took him 8 years to come to righteousness, but he finally sees the world for what it is. I mean, for him to say that's like when Kabaskis comes and calls me out for making my dig at women's sports or the WNBA or the final championship game. And you just got to eat it. The truth is, like, dude, you've been backing ignorance for how long? And now the gas is at its highest. You can't afford eggs. Everybody in your comments hates your opinion. And now finally you got to find a podcast on a beach to go, I might vote for the guy. I might do it. I might do it. Please subscribe to me on Twitter again. I might do it. I don't know, Brian, what are you thinking?
Ricky said he's a fucking millionaire. Probably was chilling with Trump back in the day.
Yeah, not to mention what changed his mind was like, so my agent told me I got invited to Mar-a-Lago and I can't play golf with a dead guy. So I think I'm going to go with him. What's Kabaskis got for us?
He only changed his mind due to the far left stance on Israel.
That's true.
Oh,
that
my.
is true. But here's where back to another point I've made in the past about the left eating the left. Like a thing that they constantly do is you will never be cult liberal enough. Like I said, I don't like proclaiming them as liberal because they are literally not liberal to people that are different than them. You either think like me, talk like me, or you're dead to me. That is the Democrat way. And so they proclaim to be liberal. And one of the things in that game that makes it so toxic is you can, in the cult definition of liberal, you cannot be liberal enough. And so the game of I gotcha, cancel, 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 they're canceling their own. They're canceling each other out of fear of being a target themselves. As long as I'm pointing out all the other racists and all the other xenophobes and all the other misogynists, then they're not going to come for me. And I want to be able to always keep myself in the good graces of this cult that claims to take the position of the good guys. And that's a piece of it. Okay, as Kabaskis points out, maybe what was a turning point for Michael Rappaport was the position on Israel. That could have been it.
Could have been.
I'm ignorant to what truly turned
know, yeah.
him. Besides kind of just the clips that I've seen. That being said, as they progress more and more extreme, no matter where it is, like he can agree with them on all the other boxes on the ballot: firearms, economy, schooling. He's just like Democrat, 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 Democrat. The one thing that they've gone so far on in his political spectrum, he's immediately out. And it's like they can, and sure, you could say the same thing about the other sides. That's why I so desperately cling to something that could be considered a moderate.
Yeah.
But the problem is the more and more extreme you get out of self-preservation or this fight for goodness and becoming the most self-righteous, you are slowly, it's weathering away on the edges. It's just falling apart, disintegrating.
Yeah, especially if you always live your life in a bubble, there's always going to be someone more other than what you are. So that's just kind of how they operate. It's, they don't, it's one thing if there were always, I have like a couple conservatives that keep around here with me, but they just don't do that. They try to constantly push. It's always a push. It's always a push with them. I think we get a little bit of that with on the conservative end of things as well, but not quite as, it's not, you even have like Candace Owens going out there and like quote unquote being anti-Israel. And still, they're not like pushing her away. There's still a couple people like, oh yeah, I actually quite like that. So there's I think on one end there's a bit more diversity of thought within the conservative space to a certain extent. But then there isn't just this push to get rid of people. We just don't see that on that end. They just don't. It's not how they operate. Maybe not necessarily the Democrats, but the more liberal folk, like the leftists. I always like the term leftists. Those are the ones that are actually pushing people away, trying to find the other. It's really like kind of McCarthyism as well. When you get in like Twitter, get off Twitter, get off X. Jesus, that's an awful app. Except for when you're watching
Except for the 3 people watching us on X.
Yes, and keep watching on X. That's what we're saying. Stay on X, baby, and don't get off. That being said, everybody, thank you for joining us for the live show. Thanks for watching this clip from the Rethink Tank Live. Join us every Tuesday at 7 p.m. streaming across the platforms on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok. We do our best to promote user engagement, and we want you involved. So be sure to bring your perspective live so we can get you in the dialogue. See you then.